Welcome to the TSD Mindfulness recording of meditation number 1. This meditation instruction and guided meditation corresponds to teachings number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for this meditation, we're going to practice focusing our attention on a sound and being curious about it. It's important that your spiritual practice guides you to know when to use your will. So I want to talk a little bit about will. So again, your spiritual practice should guide you to know when to use your will and when to surrender, right? Isn't that always kind of this contemplation that we go through? Well, is this a situation where I should surrender? Is this a situation where I should will myself? What should I do? And so when you're using your spiritual practice, taking classes, learning, look for that. It's a spiritual practice really helping you discern when to use your will and when not to use your will, when to surrender. We have will, and therefore we are supposed to use it. That's the philosophy of TSD Mindfulness. We do have will, we do need to use it, and we just need to be really knowledgeable and understand when to use it. And through our practice, we learn when using will is best and when it's best to simply surrender. And I feel like this subject is sometimes taboo in other spiritual paths about will and using will, but I'd like to teach you some ways to use it. So today, and in a lot of our meditations, we use our will to direct our attention. In other words, to concentrate. It does take will to concentrate. It does take will to direct your attention. And directing your attention during meditation is key. It's so important. Directing your attention is similar to shifting your eyes. So if you just take a moment to take your eyes and shift them to the right, and shift them to the left, shift them up, shift them back to center, right? So it's like you're intentionally shifting your eyes in different directions. Now, during meditation, when your eyes are closed, when you shift your attention from, say, a sound to a sensation in your body to an emotion, it's that same idea. We're intentionally shifting the direction of our attention. And so, again, when you practice that shifting your eyeballs, it's your will. You're willing your eyeballs to shift to the right. You're willing your eyeballs to shift to the left. In your meditation, you're willing yourself to shift your attention or keep it concentrated on something in your meditation. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's discipline. Discipline is a part of a mindfulness practice. We are purposely not using our will for other endeavors. We're not using our will to create shopping lists in your mind, right? Think of some other things maybe that you might use your will to do during a meditation, and maybe that's not really that helpful. Maybe you will yourself to get up and off your meditation cushion and not meditate, right? Just think about, is that your will? Is your will doing that? Something to consider. So take a moment to think about what you might practice surrendering to in your meditation. So we've talked about what you're going to use your will for. What might you practice surrendering to? What are you not going to apply your will to? And invite yourself to let go of during your meditation today. So you might surrender to your thinking. In a way, you might not try to completely control it. You might be more aware of it, but using your will to then move your attention back to the sound that I'm going to be directing you to. Something you might surrender to is discomfort and ache, not willing yourself to do maybe anything in particular about the discomfort, but just kind of sitting there with it, and then using your will to direct your attention back to the sound. Those might be a couple examples. Today, I'm going to lead you to notice a sound in your environment. And the first part of the meditation will be dedicated to taming your mind, your thinking. And I will lead you to take a step back away from analysis, away from simulating outcomes, away from thinking about the past or thinking about the future. thinking about song lyrics. These are all kinds of things that your thinking might do during your meditation. So you're just kind of taking a step back. You might be observing it, then moving your attention back to the sound. The second part of this meditation is being mindful of your gut. It's possible you won't notice much there in the beginning. That's very common for people who just start this practice. But over time, you'll start noticing more and more sensations in your gut area. The gut is often not active during meditation. And when it is, sometimes it's very subtle. But sometimes it is very triggered and it can take over. So maybe you have been in those situations where you've sat down to meditate, but your gut is so triggered, you're actually in fight or flight. You just have such a hard time staying still. You have such a hard time concentrating. And that's by design. When you are in fight or flight, your brain is telling you, you need to go, you need to run, you need to act, you need to do these things, you need to think this through, you need to simulate outcomes, you need to analyze, right? That's a lot of times what our fight or flight response will do to us. And so it makes it really hard to meditate. When you're in fight or flight, your body isn't saying, oh, you should meditate. That's not what's happening. So either way, it's important to practice checking in with your gut. So when it is super active, you can use tools to soothe yourself. And the gut is very responsive. When you start doing this work, I think you're going to find this, that if you really do use these tools to soothe your nervous system, it does soothe. It will calm down. It's almost kind of weird. It's like, wow, oh, now I feel fine. So try it out. So like some of the previous teachings talked about how reassurance is really helpful for soothing the gut. Talking about thinking about safety can be really helpful for soothing the gut. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to practice paying attention to 4 aspects of your life that give you a sense of stability. So that's what I'd like you to do right now is think of 4 things in your life that when you think about them, you have a sense of stability. It might be a relationship, it might be a job, it might be your home, it might be something from nature, it might be something spiritual. Go ahead and think of 4 things that, when you think about them or when you're there, maybe it's a place, you really feel this sense of stability. So once you have those, I will be leading you to think about those during the meditation. And as far as your posture, I recommend sitting up. It doesn't matter if you're in a chair or on the floor. You can meditate with your palms down if you'd like, on your knees. I don't recommend lying down, but you certainly can. But a lot of times when people lie down, they're not as alert and they fall asleep. But alertness is really important for mindfulness. We really do want to be alert. We want to be awake for our mindfulness practice. And if you are in one of the TSD mindfulness programs, the expectation is that you practice the TSD mindfulness meditation for 15 minutes, 3 or 4 times a week for this beginning, these first few weeks of your program. All right, so go ahead and find a comfortable position, and I will begin leading the meditation. Okay. All right. So with your eyes closed, go ahead and take in a deep breath. As you exhale, let your shoulders drop. Another intentional breath in. And as you exhale, relax your jaw. One more intentional deep breath. And as you exhale, see if you can let your abdominal muscles relax. And then returning to natural pace of breathing. I'd like you to notice the sounds in your environment. You might notice how many different sounds are in your environment. You might also notice the space in between the sounds, the quiet in between the sounds. And if you drift off into thought, that's fine. Just move your attention back to the sounds without any judgment on your distraction. And then I'd like you to choose one sound in particular and focus on that. And remember, you're using your will to direct your attention toward that sound, not using your will to do anything else, just to direct your attention. You can be curious about the sound, asking yourself, does this sound like it's close or far away? And being curious about the sound, does it have a high pitch or a low pitch? And again, if there's any distracting thoughts, just wake up to the fact that you've been distracted, acknowledge that, and use your will to bring your attention back to the sound gently without judging your abilities or your practice. Still being curious about the sound, asking, is this sound more rhythmic or is it more sporadic? And feel free to shift your attention to a different sound, rotating your attention to a different sound. Being curious about that sound. Is it mechanical or is it from nature? And noticing if your attention just kind of gets lost in thought, waking up to that, noticing, willing yourself, moving your attention back to the sound. Noticing the ebb and flow of your practice, about the concentration, then losing concentration, back to concentration, losing concentration. It's all part of the practice. Continuing to be curious about the sound. And noticing how the sound allows you, invites you to take a break from thinking and just be in the awareness of the moment. If you'd like to shift your attention to a different sound, you're completely welcome to do that. Still being curious. Also, maybe noticing the space in between the sounds. If you get distracted, just gently bringing your attention back to the sound. Giving yourself compassion. If you feel distracted and unfocused, you might say to yourself, it's understandable. I'm feeling distracted. I've had a lot going on today. Continuing to notice the sound. Notice when you get distracted. And using your will to move your attention back. And use your mindfulness to notice. Notice if the single pointed focus, attention on the sound is quieting your thinking in any way, giving yourself a mental break. Noticing the ebb and flow of your practice, being concentrated, losing concentration, becoming concentrated and focused again. Giving yourself compassion. I'm a beginner. I'm learning this practice. Nothing about my practice needs to be perfect. And then I'd like you to move your attention to your abdominal area. First, paying attention to the physical sensations in your abdominal area. And you can use the sound as an anchor. You can always go back to the sound. But I'd also like you to notice the physical sensations in your gut area. Do you feel a sense of hollowness, or does it feel full? Are there areas of your gut that feel a little tense? Is there some tension, or does it feel completely relaxed? And if you get distracted, just notice that. Use your will to bring your attention back to your gut area, noticing the physical sensations in your gut area. And if you feel some tension in your gut area, you might use a little curiosity. I wonder what that's about. I wonder why I have a little tension in my gut right now. Not judging it, it's totally okay. Just being curious what that might be about. There's something going on this week or today that might be causing you to feel a little tension. And then, as a means to soothe, reassure your nervous system, I'd like you to think about one of those aspects of your life that brings you a sense of stability. You can think about it in a visual way, Or you might tap into the emotions that you feel when you are in that place or with that person. Or you might simply reflect on some memories. If you get distracted, that's okay. Just use your will to bring your attention back to your process of intentionally thinking about this aspect of your life that brings you stability. And use your mindfulness to notice if thinking about this has any effect on your physical being. And then I'd like you to shift gears and think about another aspect of your life that brings you feelings of stability. Again, either thinking about it visually or feeling the emotions associated with this aspect of your life, or reflecting on memories. If you become distracted, just notice that. Use your will to bring your attention back to your intentional thinking. And you can always use that sound as an anchor, going back to the anchor of the sound. Use your mindfulness to notice if thinking about this aspect of your life brings a sense of calm to your physical being. And then I'd like you to consider one more aspect of your life that brings you a sense of stability, reflecting on it in a way that works best for you. If you notice yourself becoming distracted, just notice that that's happening and use your will to bring your attention back. And then these last few moments of the meditation, I'd like you to move your attention to your heart area and just notice the physical sensations there. Does anything feel heavy or tight or numb or light? You can always go back to the sound as an anchor. And remembering to notice yourself with kindness, reflecting on your practice with kindness, your abilities with kindness. And then go ahead and open your eyes whenever you're ready. So, welcome back. I hope that meditation was helpful in becoming more aware of your gut and maybe some tension there, and using a strategy to soothe your gut, and some introductory experience with the single pointed focus, focusing on the sound. I do want to go over one tip that might be helpful when you're meditating on your own, to rotate between stimuli. So that might be rotating between different sounds. That might even be rotating from a sound to a physical sensation and back to the sound. But this rotation can be really helpful if you're a beginner meditator to help develop your concentration. That rotation might be just enough activity to help keep you focused. And then later, in a few months, being able to focus on one thing without the rotation is something to work towards. So if you are in one of the TSD mindfulness programs, I ask that you practice this particular meditation between classes before the next class. And you could either listen to this recording or do the meditation on your own. And always email me if you have any questions. Thank you.